my shit here. Ooh, that's a little ready.
Too late. We're live, pal.
Okay. I'm not ready for you to just hit the live button like that. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Geekverse review series. This time we're doing Dexter Original Sin, Episode 9. I am the Blood Taker, Kirkland Patzer.
I'm the Ice Truck Podcaster, Travis Snell.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is not Taylor Field. That is Travis Snell. We're doing a little switcheroo this week. We've been getting a lot of February 1sts in the chat on these reviews. We've been getting a lot of behind the scenes messaging perhaps, or venting from this man, giving his thoughts. But he has not given his thoughts to the public, at least not to my knowledge. Maybe you're on some separate podcast I don't know about doing secret reviews under a different alias. But yes, you're going to be hearing all about my thoughts and Travis's thoughts. And Travis's thoughts pretty much on the whole season. Catch an update now. But before we get into that, just a couple of plugs. We got lots of sweet stuff dropping right now. Taylor Field and I are cooking up some sweet Daredevil retros for you guys in anticipation for Daredevil Born Again, which
it's March 4th, so you guys are getting close. You guys gotta.
I think we're at a good pace though. Like him,
the gas pedal on.
Last time I talked to him, he was 5 or so episodes in. I'm a few in, but I'll be burst firing a couple of those in this weekend. But it's lots of fun. We got. What other reviews do we got going on right now? We got Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. 5 episodes are out so far. Those are doing another little burst fire releases. We're getting 3 episodes every week now.
They heard your Creature Commando review. Like, we got to make sure Kirkland's happy. Let's put them together.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they. That was a hot talked about review series that we did for that one. That's on the feeds as well. Mm-hmm.
Cap's coming up.
Caps, yes. Yeah. Captain America, New World Order. I have not. Have you got your ticket?
No. I looked in the theater. There was like 7 people, so I think I'm good. Taylor got his, so no one's gonna sit beside him, I think. So
there you go.
But Cap, and then throughout like the next week, drafts will be dropping, and then we got Golden Geeks for Marvel and regular. So we got lots of. We got a couple of weeks away
for Golden Geeks, so I got to do some viewing. There's many things I'm not caught up on, but. That's gonna be all on the feeds there, and make sure to go check out the Patreon. That's the best way to support us. You get everything early, ad free. You get exclusive content on there. We got different tiers. Shouts out to our highest tier. We got our Patreon producers: Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Muds, Sam, Superbad Mike, The Good God Loves Me, 69, Jeremy Renner, and Charlie Randall. Never forget about Jeremy Renner being in there.
Yeah, I love Jeremy. Yeah. Hopefully he pops up on After 9 one of these times,
Yeah, he hasn't shown up yet. He's a busy guy, though. So, speaking of getting busy, I'm very interested in what your thoughts are of Dexter Original Sin here.
Like, there's no sex in this episode.
I've heard some mumbles and grumbles in the chat, but I feel like I really don't know your overall thoughts of the show. Are you hating every week? Are you mad that this is not over already? Are you wanting more of this? What's been going on with Travis Snell, the Ice Truck Podcaster?
Kind of all those emotions, to be honest. You kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like a very, toxic relationship I have with this show. I'm kind of all over the map. I think it is an episode by episode. I think there's certain things that have gotten better as it's gone on, and then there's certain things that are worse. I think I'm all over. I talked about this like a tad on Trash Told You because Mike asked me, and I didn't give him my whole thoughts because okay, let's wait to the Dexter review. But it's like with the acting, you have someone like Deb and like Huerta and Batista, all perfect, right? And then I said this to Travis Told You. Taylor, I think, one point said like the Harry Castle is perfect. He's fucking mad, man. It's awful. And don't get me wrong, Christian Slater is great. Him
is
separately.
He a good actor? Is he a good actor? Like what's a Christian Slater project? Because I asked Taylor this, he was no help. All I could think about was The Office, because he just plays himself in The Office in a really.
I think he is a good actor, but he has a certain type. Now these are the worst because he did a bunch of '90s things. Now I can't remember one of my favorite ones is. I'll look at it while you're talking. He did there's an anthology horror movie I really liked, but there's a show on NBC a couple of years called My Own Worst Enemy, and it was a show where I can't remember what to compare it to, but it's like he's James Bond and then a regular guy. So what happens is he goes to sleep and that switches over and then he becomes James Bond, but he has no idea, like the daytime consciousness until at one point there's like
Substance.
Yeah, something like that until something happens though, and they switch. So the secret agent is in the daytime being the dad, and the dad's doing the secret agent stuff.
Okay.
So I think he's like a good actor. I think it's just it's not Harry at all, like not to a degree whatsoever. And I think that's been the toughest thing for me with this show is because they are doing okay. It's 11 years before the first season of Dexter, right? But because that show had so many flashbacks, we still have enough touchstones like what the characters act like or even sound like. Not so much like look, that's fine, I can get past the look wise. Yeah, of course the hair, and I agree with you, they had to cut that hair, they couldn't have that going. But I think that's the thing where I am with the acting. Mixed. Patrick Gibson I think has gone better as the show's gone on. I think he's really good at the like that like put that back up there. What's that sweater they got him into?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, man,
It's
Dexter
so
had some
similar
terrible
to the
style.
other one, right? Like,
Oh yeah, no,
just
it's
the fashion
fitting.
sense.
Yeah, it's not a good fashion sense, but like that's the thing. Like Patrick Gibson, I think he's done really good at the like the
Just the
Dexter.
quirks.
Yeah, the quirks.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't. Blood makes me woozy, and he'll do like
Mhm.
the Michael C. Hall. Like, I think he's good at the fake stuff. I think he's good with Deb. I think whenever he's in the kill room, I never feel like it's Dexter when he's trying to be intimidating. I'm
Mm.
not. I'm not there yet. But I think
Fair
he's
enough.
actually gotten better as the show goes on, and I do think this will have a season 2 because this is the penultimate episode. I don't. I guess we could wrap everything up next week, but that would feel very rushed to me as far as
Yeah.
like there's a few threads we'll talk about. So the acting is like 50-50. I have, of course, and I'm not alone. The Discord popped up too. People that are fans of the shows, especially like myself, Dexter's a top 10 show of mine. I love that show. There's a lot of inconsistencies, and that's the thing that bugs me is just because this is what I said on Trash Told You, with you and Lord of the Rings, it bugs you. But the difference is Lord of the Rings, that's a show adaptation. It's its own like universe to show. This is literally like a prequel to an existing show. It's like they have the material right here. It's some of the writers that were like involved with that. And for me, it just sometimes feels lazy when like, oh, we can't do that because we did this. And it's like, whatever, we'll just do it. One of the writers gave this quote which I hated. They said, oh well, in the original show, sometimes we viewed like him as an unreliable narrator, and that's just from Dexter's point of view. But they never did that in the show. They never had a moment where Dexter told us something and he was like lying to us, or like, remember there was like that guy Travis whatever, and he had like the imaginary killer he was talking to. Like we
Yep.
never had that. Like the second Harry pops up, Dexter knows it's in his mind. He's never like, Harry, you're alive. Like, so I hate those excuses, and those are things that like there's good stuff in the show, so I kind of look past them. And then there's the third thing I'll say, which happens a lot in this episode, where it's things that are not breaking canon whatsoever. They don't go against anything, they don't bring in rules, but they put new light on situations where I go, man, I'm not liking any of this. If you watched last week, it's not a spoiler. They're diving into Ice Truck Killer stuff. I'm really not jiving with any of this stuff happening with Brian, except for a few moments, which I don't want to spoil. But all the flashback stuff, there's just things that it's tough when you get into the prequel territory. Even though I really liked that twist of, oh, there's a serial killer on the loose, and it's kind of like Brian, like, I don't know, like getting ready to become the Ice Truck Killer, like he's like experimenting. So
Mhm.
I like that, and I like the story going on with Patrick Dempsey and the sergeant stuff. That was like a fun twist that I did not see. I thought he'd be the
The
bad
captain,
guy,
like Captain
yeah.
Spencer. Yeah.
I thought he'd be the bad guy, but I didn't think it would be to like this degree of a bad guy. And I
Mhm.
thought maybe he's shady or whatnot. So I like all that. So yeah, there is some things I enjoy about the show, but when I'm looking at the Dexter like pantheon, I think it's still like a bottom 3 season for me. So I'm not trying to come and rain the parade because I know it's been very positive these past few weeks. But and I'll fully admit there's some stuff that is just like it is because I've watched the show many times. Like I rewatched this after like episode 2. I'm like, I gotta rewatch the original show, and I do agree at times it does get close or can capture the feeling of the original, which I think is really good because you can't really do that with New Blood or Resurrection, right? Like you can't make Dexter
Yeah.
go back and be like a CSI lab tech anymore. Like that's over. He
Mhm.
can't just like, oh, I'm sorry guys, I didn't mean to kill those people. Like so this is where you can kind of like bake your cake and eat it too. So I think there are some good things about it, but it's just a lot of confliction for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is other than the stuff in the past, it's just the Harry stuff. Harry to me is such a big character, and I just can't buy into it. And I think it's going to be very interesting for us later on in the year, because they confirmed it this year. We're getting Dexter Resurrection, and James Remar is coming back as Harry. So I just feel like that's going to be a really big 180, because I just feel like Christian Slater's he's just being Christian Slater, and that's fine, whatever. But yeah, this episode I thought was same thing. I got some stuff I really hate, some stuff I really enjoyed, which is I think all the present day stuff that's happening with the Captain. I liked all that stuff, and there's a blood drive, the Deb stuff, and that's the other thing too. You guys have said too. I think she's the best in the show, both just like the acting wise, the vibe, and I think they're like. You can kind of see the trajectory they're putting that character on. Like, her character feels completely like, oh, this is the person that I feel is going to become Deborah Morgan, the cop, where everybody else, and I say it with Dexter too. I feel like this is the thing. I think there's some stuff that's maybe kind of a leap, but I digress. What do you think about this episode?
You're talking about Christian Slater not being moved by him. You weren't moved by seeing his cheeks move around in that sex scene that we had?
Oh, that was a very just off the beat, just like boom, sex scene, and it's just, and that's where it's like, here's an example for some people, like because I talked to you guys about this, and every week, I sound trash today. The closest I got back to coming on the podcast was not because I want to, it's just these guys beefing on me on air, not being able to defend myself. It's just like, the fact that in this show, I feel like they try and make like him and Laura, like it's a big love. Like it's this big, like he's cheating on his wife and it's just like, it's a big deal, right? But the show, and I rewatched it, they reveal, oh yeah, he was sleeping with a bunch of like whatever, what are they again?
Informants or
informants.
CI, whatever.
Yeah, CIs, yeah. So it's just like, don't even do that. Just make that there's some tension there of like she finds out that she's not the only one, but it feels odd. And same thing with hit Doris, like confronting him. She's not like, oh, first it was this one and this one, now it's this lady. It's just like they're making it seem like it's a one-time thing, and then he like maybe loved her, and that's why and I also really do not like how much he's hanging out with Dexter and Brian this whole season. Like that's something in my mind, and again, that breaks no canon. You could tell me, hey, Harry had a relationship with him before. I guess so. I just never thought of that before. I just thought he was just like pounding Laura Moser,
Yeah.
But in this,
eating.
yeah. So, but yeah, that was quite the scene we got there. So
Yeah, I had to ask you about that. But yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's been definitely a pretty positive ride for Taylor and I throughout this whole series. But I definitely feel like I've been maybe getting a little bit annoyed by some things, bothered by some things. Some cracks are forming. Last week, I think, was the biggest extreme of that. And this week, again, like this is the worst episode I've seen so far in this show. I think multiple times. I just was shaking my head, maybe laughing, like ironically, at just certain things that were happening. It's also compounding in the fact of like, and I said this last week, maybe even the week prior, but like just certain behaviors by characters, they didn't bother me that much. It's like when you start working at a new job, you're like, this guy's not that bothered. Like, he's not that annoying. And then couple months later, and you're like, holy fuck, Johnny will not shut the fuck up in the mornings or whatever the hell it is. I feel like I'm starting to get that now with a couple different characters. I felt it last week and this week again. I mean, yeah, certain Christian Slater behavior, especially like the flashbacks versions of him. I just think it's so comedic when they have him in like the Miami Vice gear with the long sideburns and just his behaviors. I'm like, this guy's actually just such a piece of shit. And what else do we got? We got I don't know how much I want to say about the Captain. I know it's kind of like things were revealed last week, but it is a big plot twist. So just in case someone was they're not caught up. Well, we can get into him in the spoiler stuff, but I just think his behaviors, like after a certain reveal, he's just so over the top for me. And it's just kind of what I said last week, so I don't want to just keep repeating myself.
Yeah, you haven't been a fan of his acting. Hey, where I've enjoyed it. We were speaking about Grey's Anatomy earlier today, so I will also admit there's some bias for me that I'm just a big Patrick Dempsey fan. I'm very disappointed he was supposed to be in the next Scream because he has a history there and he's no longer in it for a bunch of stupid reasons. So I am a little biased, but I've enjoyed him for the most part. But I do think he goes a little ham in some scenes. He you can't say he's not trying. You can't say he's not putting 100% into the role.
It's funny how we were talking. Yeah, we're talking, just off air or whatever about Grey's Anatomy, and you mentioning soap opera like isms. I'm like, man, I can totally get him being like a soap opera type actor. With just some of like the extremes that he that he's going for with emotions. But I mean, yeah, he's going for it. So respect. He's earning that paycheck. Don't like certain writing around it, but I think that's kind of everything I want to say non-spoilery.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll go to our first ad break here, and then we'll be back to unravel this onion. All right, here we are with our onions. We're back.
Onions.
Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start with this?
I want to start with the Brian stuff because
Yeah, Mr.
so for
Mose.
me, there's tons of great seasons, and most people I think are going to say season 4. Season 1's still my favorite season of Dexter for multiple reasons, but I think
Season
it is
4, the Trinity stuff.
yeah, season 4 is
Okay.
Trinity. Yeah, I feel like it's all most people say that, but like number 1 still my favorite. It peaked there. I love the I Struck Killer. I like the reveal. I feel like we're in a safe space. Obviously, they fully reveal in the show like they're brothers, but at the time of that show you didn't know that. It was just like the build up to it. But I Struck Killer was like a February 1st, or he's always dropping hints throughout that whole season, and everything like that. So this is where again they don't break canon. So for me, when we get to the finale of season 1, and it's Dexter and Brian, and they're talking about what happened, and Brian's like, "Well, yeah, you were never affected. Like you didn't show any signs, but Harry looked at me and just saw a fucked up kid." Now, again, you could say, "Well, maybe there's a lot more." To me, I literally just looked at what they did in that show where they show the flashback where Harry opens up the crate. He goes, he sees Dexter, he picks him up, and then he walks out and he leaves Brian there. In this show, another cop came to get Brian, but they specifically show, like, yeah, Harry really did leave Brian behind. And for me, in my mind, I liked that a lot better of, hey, that day happened, and whatever he's doing with Laura and the banging, and, like, if he was following Dexter, I liked the idea of Harry sees him and goes, oh, yeah, this kid's fucked up, and just leaves him behind. The fact that he tried to, like, adopt him for a few weeks, to me, I it's not just that, it's how extreme they went with Brian, because I always like the idea of what if he did take both boys, and that's how Dexter is better, right? Because Dexter grew up in a house and had Harry to watch him, and the original show kind of insinuated that's why Brian hated Harry, because he just abandoned him, right? This show's still doing that, but what I bugged the shit out of me was the fact they got to go as far as we got little Deborah in her crib, she's crying. Brian can't take it. Shut up. Shut up. Cut to Doris. She looks around the corner and Brian's full on pillow, like putting it on Deborah's face, trying to murder her, right? So for me, I liked the original insinuation of, you know what, Harry kind of, like, again, like Harry is a bad guy, but I like that more. It's a gray area, right? Of like, if Harry would have also helped with Brian, would Brian not be a fucked up guy? Where this is like, oh, well, he was screwed from the beginning because not only is he like a messed up kid, he's literally already trying to kill people. So for me, I did not like that inclusion into the canon of, oh yeah, he was really fucked up. I just like the idea that, yeah, Harry did a shitty thing. I was like, actually, I just want that one. And like, why not? No, I just want that one. But he tried, and he gave him a little speech, and they try a little more, and then they separate him. So I didn't like that new addition to it. And yeah, that was, I just think, a bridge too far to have him literally just trying to kill Deborah there. And I also thought they went way over the board with Dexter being zoned out, because same thing in the original show. They like, Brian says that to him. He's like, you had no memory of it really, but I was a fucked up kid. So like the idea is that stuff comes later. Dexter's more fucked up later, but he's just like, they go to him. Brian, he's playing, and Dexter's like, he's looking like he's been lobotomized, and like for the Doors like, oh, come here, and like even then they're all chummy with him. So yeah, I just didn't, I thought it was cheesy, and I didn't like, again, that didn't break any canon, but that was adding to it. And that's my stuff with prequels. It's like the, what, oh, I'm alone, Han Solo. It's like, oh, I don't think I needed this to get there. I liked it better before. So that was a big issue for me. The present day stuff, I'm actually having complete no problems with. I'm liking Brian, like, I'm going to go hunt down the people that wronged me, because I feel like that's a serial killer thing to do. He's like chumming up with that lady at bingo. He saws her on the roof, which where's the security? I hope this, like, is no one going to hear this chainsaw going on? But and I like the stalking, and I was talking about this with Taylor today because he messaged me right after, because same thing. I think he got a good laugh out of the pillow because we both saw it last night. But I feel like they have to catch Brian, because this is 11 years before, and if he's already like within feet of Dexter, because they showed that last week, right? They showed a crowd photo, and he's wearing the orange hat, and he's watching, like, he is within an arm's reach of Dexter. He's gonna have to go away or something, because you're telling me for 11 years he's just gonna be watching Dexter and not do anything. So that's what I think about all that stuff.
Man, just like adding on to that, him being like this close to Dexter with it being over a decade away from like that stuff actually happening. Like, it's a decade away from Dexter even knowing about this guy, right? Like, he realizes that in the first season. So when I think I think it's when Harry is like, I don't know, just looking into the file. Maybe like Huerta's getting closer, like looking into the Brian Moser stuff. And then he's just talking about how like this fucker's stalking my son or whatever the fuck, like what he says. And then it cuts to
Yeah.
Deb like going into the house, like, hello, is anyone home? And I'm like, are they gonna fucking get Brian Moser, like grab her here or something? I'm like, what the hell is happening right now?
I am
So
wondering if they're gonna bump into each other. They feel like they're getting
it
close
seems
to
like
that
it's
stuff.
set up that way.
Yeah.
Like with what's happening and like, oh, I'm not gonna date older guys. The heart what knows what it wants, or just like all of the signs are pointing towards that. I'm like, guys, we're a decade away from this happening, and we already got that happen, and it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
season 1 of Dexter, so
Which is
I
kind of
was
funny,
really
like
worried.
twice in her life this same guy tries to kill her, like as an adult and then
Yeah.
like as a baby. Like she's
Yeah.
like, in 20 years she'll be fucking the guy who had a pillow over her head, like shut up, shut up. No, not even fucking, they get engaged. Don't forget, they get engaged in that show. So she wants to marry that man there. So which also just makes me think now, again, I don't enjoy it, but think, okay, if this did happen, imagine if Harry was alive during this time and like just thinking about Brian Moser, like he like being engaged to him, all this stuff, right? Like sins of the father sort of stuff. So
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty conflicted with the Brian Moser stuff because I do like the idea of him, like, I don't know, murdering people right now in the sense of
Yeah.
like it makes him have a story before the show of Dexter, which would make sense because like
it's like
not
this show for Dexter. It's
Yeah,
Dexter getting
yeah.
ready to be Dexter, right? The
Yeah,
Big Harbor
exactly.
Butcher. Yeah.
I think Taylor brought up that idea last week because initially I'm like, this is so dumb that they're bringing Brian Moser here, and then he like just made me see that it's like, well, like this is kind of his origin. And I'm like, actually, yeah, that is really interesting, and it would make sense that he's going through the same feelings that Dexter would be, but maybe I don't know, a little bit more extreme or sooner because he's
Yeah.
as you've already stated, like you would have been showing that more than what Dexter was. I think it's just they go so far with like in my mind the cheesiness factor of like we really have to make it for the lowest common denominator to know that this guy's fucked up. Like this is a
Yeah.
fucked up kid. This is a Chucky child, right? Like
Yeah.
I just found it so hilarious when he's just like shut up. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's he's a little irritated with little Deb, but like let's see what he's actually gonna do. He grabs the pillow, and especially the way that the scene is shot, it he grabs the pillow, goes over, and then it just gets shot to the lobotomized Dexter that's like staring off in the clouds, and he just
Yeah.
like looks toward and like it just seems like if they changed the music of that scene, it's like a satire. Like it's just so ridiculous with what's happening. Mom takes forever to realize what the fuck's going on. Deb was getting choked out for like no less than I don't know 10 seconds or something.
It's a lot of oxygen.
And then you're gonna sit on that couch and wait till Harry gets home to discipline you. Fast forward. Harry walks in, looks like he's smelling like cigarettes and booze, just got back from the
Don't give
stripper
a
joint.
fuck.
And he's like, Jesus Christ, I got to deal with this. And then
Just missing that
sits
lower
down.
ass,
Yeah.
Which I feel like, especially in this show, because like in the original show, they do that where that's why he's wearing the whole outfit, right? Because when they find Dexter, that's what he's wearing.
Yeah.
So in the original show, he just like sees this and gets him. I felt like in this show, which again I don't love, but they've set up that he's very attached to Laura. I feel like he didn't really emote like he looked shocked, but I feel like he was gonna be a bit more upset. Like, oh man, this woman that even though I left her, he clearly had good feelings for it. It just felt like he stepped over her body, and I was like,
yeah.
on like I guess
Kicked
on to
her
the next
noggin.
informant. But yeah, it was like I was expecting more emotion this go around from seeing like Laura Moser dead, literally in pieces. Her head is just sitting there. You
Yeah.
know?
I honestly thought that whole like crate sequence, like reveal was going to be so much more than what it was. It just seemed it seemed like I was watching the flashback, and like that might sound dumb because that is what we were seeing, but it's like
Yeah.
it's like the flashback that we got in the original show where to me it's like, well, this is the prequel. We're actually going to get a little bit more of that. And it's just I got nothing more. So I was a little bit disappointed.
We
Especially
just got him talking with all those cops and all this
Yeah.
and like even then like so he says, I guess, what badge did he give? Did he give him a detective badge? Like
I can't remember.
I again, obviously the captain's has his own shit going on, so not that he's gonna go buy the books, but it was just a weird scene where he's like, well, this investigation's compromised, and Patrick Den's like, well, you gotta give me your shield, but then like cut to the scene later, and he's on the floor with all the rest of the cops like hunting for Laura. Like you'd say, I feel like you'd be like, yeah, you can't be involved in this like at all anymore. But I'm not sure. Maybe it was like he got demoted because he was wearing the classic like just cop uniform, so
Yeah.
maybe he went from just being like a like a, I don't know the hierarchy in cop, but detective to whatever, a street beat cop. So
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I was a little bit just. Where was I going before the Moser
We're
stuff?
talking about the
Moser.
the pillow. Yeah.
Yeah, the pillow sequence. Runs out. I fucking hate you. You're not my dad. Punches the window, which I just thought was, again, just the way that it was shot. It just seems so much more dramatic than it should have been. Does this bloody hand. That's intense enough. Turns around, fucking smacks Harry. Like it just, I don't know. It seemed like it went on.
Slapped Harry. I couldn't believe it. And Harry's like, Shaw. Harry's like, what do I? He has no idea. He's like looking around, and man, kudos to Doris, because like she should divorce this man long ago. But even now, like you're not only are we fostering the woman who you're having an affair with children. That child just tried to kill one of mine, and he just bitch slapped you. And did you do anything? Like, I'm not saying do anything, but like, especially back then, people would have the strap, do something. So like, he's just like this. Like, he just got bitched out by this kid, and he has no idea. Poor Doris, just stuck with this mess. You know,
absolutely. So yeah, I thought that whole sequence just went on so long, and I was laughing. Like, it was just so goofy to me. So it was hard for me to take that seriously. And yeah, it just seems like they're really going for like the mustache twirly villain for Brian Moser, like even as a child, and it's just so unnecessary. Like it would have to me been so much more impressive if they did it in a more subtle manner of not trying to just force feed it down our throat of like this is Brian Moser, the ice truck killer, this is Dexter's brother who's gonna kill everyone, and like I don't know, it just seems like a lot. So I'm not really loving the execution of it. However, I am liking the like modern day stuff, as you already kind of situating. It was very Silence of the Lambsy when he just takes that lady to the van.
It's no dead ass parking lot, nobody there.
That
big
chick
red
has no
van.
red flags going off. She has 0 red flags. Like, I want to sit in the front. I can't sit out.
I'll take you home. And he opens the back. I want to sit in the front. And it's like it's an empty van that has nothing in it. Like
windows are blackened. Like no,
you're getting abducted. You're getting taken. Like by this point, you should know. And then I love up top when she's tied up. She's like, "I didn't want to separate you and little Dexter." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna separate you." And then he revs the chainsaw. But I will say that. For me, Patrick Gibson looks like an Academy Award actor to what the Brian guy is right now. Just when he's like, all I want was a life with my little brother, Dexter. Which is weird because
it's like that level.
Because and again, early stage, so it's fine. But the Ice Truck Killer, Brian, like he's very stoic and very quiet and always up in his head. And not that this guy's loud, but he just feels like. I think he semi looks the part. I think when he speaks, I lose some of that intimidation. And again, I would like to know what Roofy is chainsawing this woman, because like, where's the security here? But poor. Which I don't know why they put the like the blemish on her. Like that actress does not have that in real life. So I was wondering the choice because
there's no flashbacks in the show or something to that.
No, not that I know of. I don't ever remember seeing casework because I know this actress from other things. So when she was in the old lady makeup, I was like, why is she an old lady? Which it's what's so funny is like, don't you think when she's the caseworker and then she's in the flashbacks, right? And she's with little Brian, little Dexter. She's there with Doris and Harry. And so when they jump forward to the Dexter original Sin present day, they've got her in a gray wig, makeup, everything like that. She looks old. But Harry just still looks like Christian Slater, like a little bit older. So why did this woman age so poor? Like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Harry and her in that flashback are pretty similar in age.
Oh, absolutely.
So like all I did for Christian Slater was throw a wig on him and shave him. Where this, except for the sideburns, but this I had to get the whole makeover done. Like this woman aged terribly compared to Harry. He aged really good. Patrick Dempsey aged best. He didn't look when they showed a flashback to him. Didn't even look like he changed at all. He literally could have been abducting his son that same day. Oh, like it was crazy. So.
Absolutely. My only thoughts on the inclusion of the blemish, just to make it obvious that it's the same individual, because I feel like I would have been a little bit confused of like, who is this lady he's just courting in bingo, and then poor lady, she thought she was getting some young dong that night. She's like, oh man, this is winning bingo, winning this hot piece of ass, and then she got separated on the rooftop by the chainsaw. Yeah. Very easy kill area.
Don't go into vans. So.
Don't go into vans.
What do you think happens next week? Because again, like I said, I feel like he has to get re-caught or something like that, right? Because
Well, my only thought, because like they don't mention in season 1 of Dexter, that he has like he just got out of jail or anything, or
well,
like
no, because he has a different alias. It's I can't remember his last name, but he's Rudy. So like he has the whole fake.
right,
Yeah, that's how he
right.
meets Deb. He's like a prosthetics guy. He's a prosthetics doctor because that has to do with the getting chopped up in bits and stuff. But yeah, I can't remember. Rudy Cooper is his name, and then
Okay.
that's where later on they find his name is Brian Moser, and he owns the Laura Moser house. So I get that's the other thing for me. It's like I feel like he has to get locked up because he can't interact with Dexter, but at the same time, I feel like you have to he has to be out so he can establish like he has to become a prosthetic like he has to get like I don't know a PhD in something like he literally makes a guy gets his leg chopped off and the police take that guy to Rudy Cooper to get a new leg. Like I don't feel like you can just fake that. So he has to get like schooling and he has to establish Rudy
Mm-hmm.
Cooper. So that's why I'm wondering like how like I also don't like that fact then if it's like he literally was just watching Dexter for 10 11 years and did nothing. That
Yeah.
feels odd. So I feel like I don't know what happens next week. I mean imagine Harry has to confront him or something,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's the other way it could go, is if Harry deals with it without like actually, going over the table with it. Like he's already doing his own private investigating. He has this damn fucking bookkeeper lady breaking the law, like changing documents for him.
Yeah.
I thought that whole sequence was just so sus to me
They do
and
that in the original
so
show.
risky.
She
Yeah.
does that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how she's Dexter's the one that goes to her to find out because once he starts doing the digging, he goes. I can't remember her goddamn name, but she's in.
Cheryl or something. It's like a CH something.
Yeah, I can't remember, but she's in 3 seasons.
Camilla.
And
Camilla Fig.
Camilla, yeah, and he's like, "Why? Well, what won't you let me see?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just showed that long ago." She's fully Harry must have fucked her too, because she's fully supportive. Like she's like, "I know it's in the file, and I'm never telling you." And Dexter like throws a fit, and he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I'm never gonna say a word." Harry destroyed that file for a good reason. So, which
Okay.
like I have another issue with that. So the LaGuerre thing's really bugging me because I know, okay, sure, it's 10 to 11 years. You might forget a name, but I just find it's odd where Harry, which is also odd that he takes this file and then she's like, we got to start looking at these killers. The fact that she's not even going to be like, we should still probably check, like, can I see that file? Like, where did that guy live? Like, what's his deal? But, anyways, regardless, cop code, right? So she just trusts Harry. So he took this file. And I thought it'd be fun if like, oh, what's that file? And he's secretive. But the second she says the name Brian Moser, and not even she says it, she knows the name, she goes into files and starts looking. Now, again, it's 10 years later that when the Ice Truck Killer's found and you get his name. But I just feel like once you get his name and he's dead, right? And you start looking, what happened to Brian Moser? And it's like, oh, his mom was an informant. She got cut up. I feel like her reading that whole file now, if she were to read that later on when she's the captain, it wouldn't jog some sort of, especially it wouldn't be weird to be like, hey, like he kidnapped Deb. That was Harry's daughter. Harry was looking like they're supposed to be cops. They do this all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So I really did not like LaGuardia finding out his name and finding out the whole file. I know it established that Dexter was not in the file, but it just rings weird like years later
Mm-hmm.
when and this doesn't come up the show at all. That doesn't get Brian Moser's just a random dude. She never talks about that. The way she finds out Dexter is through Doak. So I didn't really love her finding all the specifics out about
Yeah.
Brian Moser and just even a slight connection to Harry, So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that just it seems like they're trying to make the situation like more dangerous than it already is. Of like, well,
yeah.
let's have LaGuerta close to him, and like maybe she's gonna almost find out, even though anyone that's seen Dexter knows that's not the case. And it just I'm getting worried when they do stuff like it's the same thoughts of when I thought Brian Moser was gonna be in the fucking house and just kidnap Deb or something. I'm like, why are they like
It's
trying to
coming.
do it too close to when the first show actually already did this? Like why and try and I don't know, just switch things up. I guess it's you can make the same argument on why are they changing the Christian Slater Harry stuff or any other continuity issues that they have. But
Yeah.
these ones just bother me a little bit more because it just seems like they're trying to overcomplicate certain things. It's the same feelings that I had with Brian Moser, like the flashback stuff, and yeah, with the whole. I did not need LaGuerta like getting close to Harry in the sense of like finding out his secrets and like even for LaGuerta like why would she not think that Harry is just a dirty cop you know,
Yeah.
like doing shit like this, like just completely stealing like police files. Like that just seems like such a dishonorable thing to do, especially if you're supposed to be like an officer, like doing it by the book. And I just feel like she's so clean cut in that way that like she would just have no tolerance for that. But I don't know. We like last week when she was first sus about him, like I was okay with it because the whole Bob thing, right? Like he was bleeding out, so they didn't really have time to focus on that. But
Yeah.
here, I think I was just like, I don't know, like I don't even know what I was expecting from the confrontation. It's like, okay, she's confronting him here, but like, I don't want this to go like
And it was
in
so
the
weird
way
'cause
that she's gonna find out something about him.
and when she read the file, Camille's like, everything you need. She's like, yeah, everything I want. And then just like moved on. Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I guess that's the show is just like, she thought this was nothing. So she'll not remember. But like you said, it's like, I don't even know if we need, I think Harry being worried about Brian's enough worry in the moment. I
Yeah.
also don't need like, oh man, look, where is going to find out. Cause it's just, that's why it's even tough for me too. When they do those cliffhangers like a couple weeks ago when it's like, all the arms in the like out of the gator thing. It's like, well, I know Dexter's not getting caught right here. Like,
Yeah.
I think the cliffhanger should be something else. But yeah, I'm curious what they do next week with Brian. Like I said, I think the face to face should be interesting. And like I said, you have to explain why, and like, you have to explain where he's been. But I also don't think you can just lock him up. But you kind of have to lock him up. So I don't know. Maybe Dexter or Harry like shoots him and he falls off a fucking into the water. He thinks he's dead or something. I don't know.
Gosh, that doesn't happen. All right, let's take another ad break here, and then we'll maybe talk about the captain. So we'll be right back. Captain, my captain. We're here to talk about Captain McDreamy. You said you like Patrick Dempsey. You know, you're a little
Patrick Dempsey.
fond of him from Grey's Anatomy. I
Maid
liked
of
him.
Honor too. Great
What
movie.
is it? Sorry,
Maid of Honor. You ever seen that? Great movie.
Is that the one with J Lo?
No, that's Maid in Manhattan. Maid of
I
Honor
think
is
no. I'm thinking of the Wedding Planner. That's the one I'm thinking.
that's the one you're thinking of. Yeah, Maid of Honor is when he's like his best friend's a girl and she's getting married and he realizes he loves her, but he gets named the Maid of Honor, so he's trying to like break up the marriage. It's good stuff.
Classic
So,
rom-com.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, no, I feel like I liked his inclusion in the show, but like ever since the reveal happened, again, this is what's repeating what I've already said, so I apologize. But I just feel like since the reveal happened, his character has just seemed over the top to me. And like the show is narrated by Dexter. It is from his point of view, so maybe it's just now that he's seen him as a monster, like the scenes just play out that way. But I just felt personally that the reveal came too soon because I just think a lot of this stuff. I'm glad he was on the table here, but I honestly was so upset with the way that that scene ended. Like I am just so mad that it
Like the end scene here
for so
with
many
him-
reasons. For so many reasons. What like he just gets out. Dexter just I'll be back, and you better have the boys' location for me. Walks out like a fucking supervillain, and then like 0.5 seconds later, he's out the table. He's got his fucking jeans and khakis, and he's out there. But I don't know. I'm not liking the villain of Mr. Captain Spencer here. But what do you think? Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I think he is going pretty over the top at times. I was surprised by the twist, but I thought like it had to be him or Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'm kind of surprised Sarah Michelle Gellar's not like dead yet, so that's why I think there's gonna be a season 2. But yeah, I've enjoyed this. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I was really disappointed that. Is he really just killing his son because the whole divorce and affair thing? Like, why wouldn't he be killing her? I guess it's so like because what I thought what was happening, he was gonna be like in big trouble with the cartel. So like he kidnapped and killed the judge's son, and I didn't think he was actually gonna kill his son. I thought he was just gonna make it look like, oh well, if they're going after my kid, they're not gonna think it's me doing this stuff, right? I thought it was gonna be like a shady cop thing because especially when last week when the kid's like, oh dad, and he's like, it's gonna be all good. So I thought, okay, he's gonna frame it that, oh, they went after my boy, but we saved him. And like especially last week when they killed all those cartel people, everything, I thought, oh, he literally is just using his son to get all this stuff away. But I think in this episode it fully looks like he's gonna kill his son at some point. Like it feels like that's the plan, and he's just blaming the wife and the affairs. So I was more into it last week than I am this week. I actually didn't mind the table conversation. I like that because I think Dempsey did a couple good acting choices where I like that he seemed like, no, I'm not. Like, that's not me. You got the wrong guy. I thought that part was convincing. I do think it's very, for early on Dexter to be risking Patrick Dempsey out there in the wild. Very risky, but at the same time, what's Patrick Dempsey gonna do? He's not gonna say anything about Dexter because then Dexter's just gonna flat out say like, "Well, fuck, he killed his like he has a son somewhere." You know, like I know he told Harry that, but he didn't voice it to everybody else, right? Like he could have all these claims and stuff, which I guess to me the biggest issue I've had with this is why has he not just followed him? Like Patrick Dempsey. Like the second he thought like he did that blood thing, is like he's definitely him. We've seen Patrick Dempsey visit, the son, and I know people. I guess it would be like because Dexter works and stuff like that. But if Dexter has such an affinity for kids, it's like, oh, I need a couple sick days, and then you just watch. You just follow Patrick Dempsey wherever he goes, and boom, you found the kid. You don't have to get him on the table and let him free and hope that he goes there. It's gonna all work out. I'm interested to see how it all goes again. But I was happy it was a plan because at first I thought he was legitimately just leaving him there and was going to come back days later. I'm like, man, you're leaving him in this arcade. Like anybody could walk in. This does not track at all. So I guess I liked it a bit better. But yeah, I liked the blood scene. I enjoyed that of, he's trying to poke and prod and just saying it literally, but he's like, oh, people that kill kids, and then he's like, yeah, it's bad. Like he's trying to say all these like trigger words, and for the most part, it's not working. And Patrick Dempsey's like, oh, I hope you do lab work better than take blood and everything. So I enjoyed that scene. So the same thing. I'm kind of iffy on the whole storyline, but I'm curious what's gonna happen next week, because I feel like if it comes out that like the public knows he's guilty, that's a huge deal for Miami, their captain, to be doing this stuff, and I feel like it won't come out. I really don't know what's going to happen. I will shout out as well too. Taylor did not like the abduction scene because he really didn't like that Dexter was getting woozy from the blood, and it didn't bug me that much, but I could see why he might be annoyed because he took out 2 packs of blood, right? So
Yeah, no. Last time I got my blood checked. I didn't even donate blood. I got my blood checked, so they take like a way smaller amount. I like blacked out in the chair.
Really? So there you go, Taylor. It's all different, yeah.
I think it's more I'm just not good with like blood and like bodily fluids and stuff like that. So yeah. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens next week. Like maybe I'll feel a lot warmer on the whole sequence of the table and just their interactions together, like with what happens next week. But I just think with how it happened here, I was over it. I wasn't loving it, and the explanation of like he's literally just doing it because his ex-wife was, I don't even know, she fucking another man or something, like what happened?
Well, she did, right? She was fucking that guy. Remember that one episode Patrick Dempsey got on that pushing match with that dude? Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she was having an affair, but again, like, why not kill those 2? Why you kill the kid?
And then what's the tie to, what's his name, little Jimmy, that guy, the first child that died?
Oh, I have no idea. That's why, like, there has to be some. I feel like there should be some more. Why did he just kill? Unless I missed something.
See, I have like goldfish brain, so I thought that I thought that like the judge was like the one having the affair with the ex-wife, so he's like, fucking kill your child, kill my child to get back up. It makes no sense. It makes no sense that if that would just be the reason. So I'm hoping for more. Otherwise, it's just the rating of this villain is just going down, 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 down with some of these revelations I'm having. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I did like the blood, just the whole montage. I think of him just getting. Like he wants to investigate something, but he just keeps getting thrown to do other things. And then, I don't know, just the way that the scene was shot with just the blood bags filling up and all the cookies he was handing out. I like the moment he had with the like the gay cop that has HIV. He donated his own blood, real G helped him out. And then fucking Masuka comes in, yeah, just drains him,
it's
double bagging it.
Yeah. you gotta step up.
Why didn't he just like put a sticker on himself and like, no, I already did, like I got the fucking, like he's like hiding it or something, but whatever.
I guess technically I think they'd say something like you're not supposed to take your own blood or maybe something like that, so that's where
I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
Suka just
the other
assumed,
nurse just left, but yeah.
You could say like, yeah, I had someone else do this to me at the start, and then now like I don't need it, but
oh yeah,
yeah, no, nice salt. I'm wondering where they're going. Like that's why I still feel like there has to be season 2, because luckily the show for them has done well rating wise. Like it was like their best premiere or something like that on the. I can't remember. We talked about the ratings like on a Facebook chat or something. Like it did well, right? So, and I feel like even that cop, it's like, is there anything more? Like, because I feel like that's a was him bumping into him at a gay club just so we could get the scene of the blood bag from him and be like, well, I don't know about my blood,
I
and
would
like I'll
hope
do it for
more
you.
is to
Well,
come, like you're
that's
setting up.
but we're in
But
the
yeah,
finale next week, so that's what I mean. Like that's what I feel like we have to have because it's 10 episodes, right? Yeah, I'm not
hmm
mistaken that way. Yeah, so it's like that's where I feel like there has to be season two. Like with that, I feel like we barely scratched the surface with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Not that I need her to be a
definitely.
villain. I thought it. Like I said to me, I thought it was her or Dempsey. And now it's Dempsey. Like okay, it's him. But I just feel like there's more you could do with that character, more you could do with Dexter and her. I'm not sure. I actually thought Dempsey was going to take her out. I thought she was. I thought they were going to do something where like she would catch on to it first, and he would take her out. And that would maybe make Dexter inquisitive. But
hmm
no, and even the Brian stuff that could be quick. Even like I think there's a whole season of Deborah wanting to become a cop because we got this episode right where she goes in and she's like, the wheels are starting to turn that maybe I would want to do this. Even then, she had a connection with Sarah Michelle Gellar too, right? She
hmm
like talked to her. She's like, oh, like talking about the feeling you get when you're playing sports and the endorphins. Just like, oh, that's what it's like solving crime here, but times 10. So you could see the wheels turning there, which I thought was good. They gave her and LaGuerta like a little moment, which I didn't mind because LaGuerta fucking hates her for the first half of the show, so she kind of seemed annoyed and so I just and even there was another story I had and I can't remember, but I just feel like there's multiple things that could be left for season two.
Well,
I do not
Geo
want.
too. Like that character's still around. Are we just never gonna see him
Oh
again?
yeah, did he just accept Deb Dunn? Like I feel like he would have came back and that would have been a thing, but I guess maybe that was just a was that literally just to show off like oh Deb does have some like because she was like what are those crates and what's this was that just to show like oh even though she might be like doing coke in an airhead sometimes she does have like a sixth sense like a cop sixth sense about her so that could have just been it so
I hope not. It's just seemed like a character that was being eh, set up to be like a
yeah
subplot or something. But
yeah. Also, I do
anyways,
agree with you guys because you guys said this multiple times. I think they've used Masuka the right amount. He's in there the
yeah.
perfect portion. Always says like some fun scene. I think the actor does a really good job, and I was happy with that. So I'm happy with them all. The only one I don't want is I do not want Dokes because that's gonna break a lot of canon to me. Because like Dokes is like for a while he doesn't know Dexter is Dexter, and then they do a flashback episode of LaGuerta when she's figuring it out. Of like one day they do a crime scene together and Doak just figures it out. He's like, "There's something off with you." So I just feel like what they'll do is the second they meet, he'll be like, "I don't know about that Dexter guy," and it's gonna completely kind of go against like Doak's kind of figures it out over time. He doesn't
hmm
just from day one. But I feel like they can't. If there's a season two, you can't resist. They're gonna get some actor for Dokes, and that's also tough too. Like Dokes is a very
Well,
distinguishable personality. That actor did a great job. So I feel like to
true.
find a, I know all those like that to me is just like it could be another Harry situation where you got to find someone that can deliver that surprise motherfucker line. Like I can even see that being a fucking like thing they do next
And
week.
the
Like
odd,
if they're setting up season two, like oh we got a new guy and he's friends with Aguerda and
yeah. If it was on my, if I'm a betting man, that would be on my bingo card. The Dokes appearance if we're
yeah
getting it next season. I just feel like we haven't even spent time with what we already have on the plate. So like, why do we have to add a big factor like that? Like you brought up Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like I loved her moments in this season, but like she's just been so background character. So
oh
I
yeah
really wanted more from her just because I liked what I got. So I think we have so much more we could do with that character, as well as like we already mentioned a bunch of other subplots that are just not really talked about, whether it's Geo and his crime syndicate that he's got going on. Batista seems like he's in this like once or twice the whole
yeah.
like he's
I
really
feel
not
like
in there at
early
all.
on he was in it a bit more, but he's definitely just kind of around now. So
Yeah. And I don't know. There's probably a couple other ones I'm forgetting about, but it just seems like we have a lot going into like the end of this show here. So I'm just I guess curious about where they're gonna focus
yeah, it can't be the end.
the
I think there's
minutes.
no way. I
Yeah.
think they
I don't want it to
they
be ending. I like these characters. I like the actors and whatnot that we got.
mhm.
Even though I am having issues like right now with these last 2 weeks, they haven't been the hottest. I feel like overall I'm still it's a fun thing to look forward to each week.
Yeah, I think they wrap up the like the captain storyline obviously, and then they wrap up or at least put a bow dovetail on the Brian thing for now, right? Like
Yeah.
obviously it's not solved. Harry's not gonna like gun him down or something, but I'm just waiting, and they're like, actually, we decided to reboot now. We decided we're going to do our own thing, but there's that. I feel like they're gonna do a moment where Deb tells Harry she wants to be a cop, and he's like all proud of her, and he like gives her a hug or something like that. I feel like they could do that next week. I'm trying to think of anything else. Like I don't. I guess the other thing too they could because I was didn't know at first if Patrick Dempsey was playing him. Clearly he's not. But I don't know if you remember there was the other like Captain Matthews that like him and LaGuardia really hate each other, and he was like good friends with Harry.
Can't remember.
Search Captain Matthews right now. He's the person that becomes the captain, and then him and before LaGuardia. And it's very odd because in the show he talks all the time about like, yeah, I was there with your dad when you found him. But Captain Matthews has been like not in the show at all. Like the way like Harry has that partner right now, they've made it sound like in the original show that Captain Matthews was that to him. Like they were partners, thick as thieves. He knew about Dexter being Brian Moser and Laura. Like he knew all this. He helped cover it up, all this stuff, and he hasn't been around. So I could see them introducing that character as well. Because like if the captain's dead, then you're gonna need a captain, right? Like you're gonna have to have somebody there. So I could see that. But yeah, I think there's a few other things they'll keep open. Like I said, like the cop that's gay. I don't know what the story was there. I guess like I said, other than the blood bag, I don't know what else. And he's disappeared for a little while, so I really don't know. But I'm interested to see what they do next week, and I'm interested to see how Patrick Dempsey gets killed because I feel like he's not going to be back on the table, right? That'd kind of be redundant if you get on the table, you find the son, and then trank him, then put him back on the table. Like I feel like that's a little odd. So I feel like maybe we're gonna get like a I don't know about a fight scene, but maybe so like he is missing a finger now, but I think maybe
I could picture like a
that.
warehouse, thing where he's like looking for him, and then they're
cat and mouse game.
Yeah, cat and mouse.
There's like
game.
a mirror, and he sees Dexter, and he shoots him, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else that we didn't cover?
No, I think that's everything for this episode. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see what Brian Moser gets up to next week. He should just show up. He should just show up to the FBI like, oh yeah, my mom used to work here, and I'd like a job, in the records room. But
God,
be excited to see what happens and what we can rate this thing overall. So, but I was happy to finally appear on here for the last episodes, and then like I said, it's a nice wedding whistle because I'll be very excited for Resurrection later this year because I think Resurrection could also have a bunch of bullshit. You got Dexter, who's now a known serial killer. I say this to Emily every time I get news of the show because I just rant about it. And like, well, it takes place in New York. And it's like, well, I feel like that's one of the worst places for a known serial killer to go currently. It's different in New Blood when he faked his death. And no one even knew Dexter was a killer, right? He just faked his death. This is now like Manhunt, and he's like going to go to one of the biggest cities in the world. So I think that show's going to have some bullshit in it too. So.
Oh, yeah. I hope so. It's always fun to talk about. But we'll be here. So, make sure to tune in next week to our finale episode of Dexter Original Sin. I think we'll have the whole triage.
I don't think so.
Okay, there we go. It'll just be two of us again. I'll be here for sure.
And Taylor gets whipped on Valentine's Day because he's not going to listen to this, but we're in the GB3 talking about Valentine's Day. And me and Kirk are like, yeah, like it's just a day, whatever. Like we're not doing anything. It's just like I'm paraphrased, but just like a corporation holiday. But I'm like, oh, Taylor, you're always busy. You're always like stuck on those days. Like, no, I'm not. It's just Valentine's Day, whatever. And I'm like, oh, so you busy Valentine's Day? He's like, yeah, I'm busy. I'm not going to make that episode. So he tried to big league us, be like, yeah, I also don't give a fuck about. It's not that I don't give a fuck about Valentine's Day, but it's not like for me and Emily, it's never been a make or break. Like, fuck, if we don't do some Valentine's Day, our relationship is on the rocks. And also, I'm not saying about Tara Madison. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she's like, if we don't do the 14th, it's over. But he tried to be like, no, I'm not doing. I never. And this happens. I feel like every year there's like a cast something. And it's Valentine's Day. It's a big no for Taylor. So, but maybe
it's always
we'll
initially.
See.
It's always initially yes. He's like,
he's always
no
pushing
worries.
back. Yeah,
I'll talk to her. Don't worry, guys.
Then, but if he's not on that episode, I'm sure he loses that conversation every year. Every year he loses that, But kudos to Madison. It's those
kudos
posters.
To Madison.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, if he's not on that, we'll get him to give us thoughts on like what you've been watching. We definitely got to get Taylor's last
After
thoughts,
9
so.
too. We're gonna have After 9 this month. We can
exactly. Talk to Mike about it because I know he's watching it and stuff, and I think John as well too. So we'll see how it ends next week.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll make sure to tune in, and until next time, we'll be there. Bye.
See ya.